I think it's live. What's going on, YouTube? RDAP Dan here, Federal Prison Time Consulting, and you guessed it, we're back. Ladies' night with, I think it's live. Ooh, I gotta pause that. What's going on, YouTube? It's never that easy. Ladies' night with our awesome host, Holli Coulman, who's back to join us. This is going to be a regular thing on Wednesdays. Holli tonight is going to talk a little bit about restitution, how it works, her favorite word. Jessica Kent. What's going on, Jessica? We got Jessica in the house with us, Holli. Jessica spent some time on the state side.
Okay.
Some rough time. She's a gangsta. But we're going to give everybody about 30 seconds to join in, jump in and join us, and then I'll let Holli take over. Meanwhile, while we're waiting on that, guys, go ahead and take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button, also tap the little bell, put your notifications on, all that awesome stuff. I'm exhausted. And before I forget, Jessica, I meant to email you, text you today, and I want to have you come on the show. Maybe when Holli does it, I think it'd be really cool to have you guys kind of like talk about the differences state versus feds. That'd be an interesting conversation if you're down.
I like that. Yeah.
Tier Talk. What's going on, Anthony? Tier Talk from, he's got a YouTube channel about prison correctional officers. So it'd be interesting to have a debate on that one night too, you know, because I know everybody's got their view. All right. We're going to let Holli take the show. Holli, go ahead and roll with it.
Hey, everybody. So good evening. And we're here to talk about restitution tonight. Like Dan was saying, my favorite word, which is not my favorite word. I owe a lot of restitution. So I took a plea agreement and my plea said that I had $954,000 in restitution to pay. And with that, I'm like, just like everybody else, had no idea really, when am I going to pay it? How am I going to pay it? What's going to happen through this whole process of me being incarcerated? So I'm going to start from the beginning. Restitution kind of starts with your pre-sentence report. Probation officer writes the report. He asks for financials. Typically, you have to supply 3 years of your tax returns, all earning statements, any assets, any type of inheritance, 401k, retirement. And if you are married and in a community property state, they will ask you to supply your spouse's information as well. So it's not necessarily just your own. Probation officer can recommend to the court, to the judge, on what he feels would be a proper amount for you to pay. Judges typically stick to about 10%, meaning once sentencing's done, they're going to take 10% of your gross pay. I have seen it all over the board, but that's kind of typically what they tend to do on sentencing. Mine, for example, prosecution kind of stuck it in there and said that I was going to need to pay $3 grand a month, even though there was no way that I could pay $3 grand a month. So again, once you're sentenced, your judgment and commit is going to give instructions on what's going to happen during incarceration, during supervised release, and on. Because this becomes a judgment after supervised release. It becomes a civil judgment, and you're expected to pay. And we can get into that about the financial litigation unit, the FLU. So once you're sentenced and you get to your facility, wherever you're going to serve your time, you're going to meet with your counselor. And I know we touched a little bit on this before. The counselor is going to sit down with you and get you enrolled in the financial responsibility program, the FRP. You probably have heard that many times. I know, Dan, you've talked about that. They are going to make a determination, and they usually start about $25 every 3 months. They're going to take a look, especially with white collar, high amount of restitution that you owe. Even if your judge says that you don't have to start paying it until supervised release, they may or may not adhere to that. Mine said I didn't have to start paying until supervised release, but they still were taking FRP. They took $25 every 3 months, but they looked at the amount of money that I had on my books. And if I had more money then they were going to take more money. So you really have to balance that and manage that. And you have to be aware of that. Because again, if you got more money, they're going to take it. I will tell you, at Victorville, where I served my time, the amount of money that they were taking never went towards my restitution, never took a dime off. So the complex, the prison, kept my money. And actually, I think it was just a good old slush fund. So again, $25 every 3 months. You can, some people don't have to pay it if you're indigent, if you haven't been, again, sentenced. If it states that you don't have to pay until supervised release, then it will happen during supervised release. However, the other caveat is once you release to a halfway house, that's a whole nother ballgame. You're under a whole new set of purview. Even though you're under the Bureau of Prisons, the halfway house is going to take money. Obviously, you're going to want you to work, but they are going to take restitution as well. And they will set an amount. Again, it could be anywhere from $25 for every 3 months. They could ask for $50. And I never, again, saw where the money was going to. It never hit the bottom line and took any money off on my restitution. Once I was released from the halfway house and went to supervised release, you meet with your probation officer, and they're going to have you fill out a whole nother set of financials. Same thing as before when you do that with your pre-sentence report. It blows my mind because here I'm incarcerated. My circumstances pretty much haven't changed. But again, they're looking for assets, anything that you might have inherited, anything that they can put their hands on. They're going to want to take a look at that and take it. My probation officer, because my judgment and commit said I had to pay $3,000, that was her expectation. She flat out said, $3,000 or you violate. I go, I didn't make $3,000. She goes, well, your husband hung in there with you through this whole time. He can help you pay. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to need all of his financials. And, you know, that can create a lot of tension on a relationship side. So I went back to my attorney, and I was fortunate because I worked for my criminal defense attorney. And when I was sentenced, when they said $3,000, he said, oh, don't worry, we'll go ahead and we'll be able to do a modification of restitution. And that is something that you can do. It is a lengthy process. So really try and work when you are going through your plea bargain or sentencing to get a manageable, get something down on your judgment commit that is a manageable amount for you to be able to pay. For me, $3,000 was not going to happen. And I was in fear of violating and being sent back to, you know, prison. So she took my financials again, and she said, well, what I'm going to do in the meantime, while you're working on your modification, this is the only bone that she ever threw me, was that I will take these and give them to the financial litigation unit, the FLU, and we'll see what they come up with. They came back, and after looking at everything, they said, well, we'll let you go ahead and pay $600 a month, not $3,000, which again was still a lot out of my paycheck, but a much more manageable amount. Then, do you have any questions, Dan?
Yeah, I got a quick question. I don't mean to cut you off. We got somebody that's going to be leaving the room soon.
Okay.
Tamara had a quick question.
Sure.
I remember this is the question Tamara asked me like a year ago about her son. Her son's one of our clients. Hi all, I just have a minute, but wondered about large restitution with co-conspirators. So when you have co-conspirators where there's a total amount, how do they determine who owes what?
It's typically set up by, again, it's the whatever came down in the judgment and commit, whatever the sentencing was done. And if it was only a certain percent, they look at it as a whole amount, and they can take and say, oh, well, they were 15% involved in this crime. They were 50% involved. They just have this conversation. There is no mathematical, it's just a conversation that they have. So that's how they determine it.
Yeah, because I remember looking at I think it was his judgment, and
okay.
it didn't really explain. It just said the total amount, and it didn't say that you are like 20% culpable or 30% culpable. It just had a total amount. And what they were told is even if somebody, like, let's say you paid half of it and the other person hasn't paid anything, they can still hold all of you accountable for whatever is still remaining.
That is correct. And they can, and they will. So.
One more quick question, then you can jump in. Jessica Kent said 600 is a lot.
Yeah.
She said, what did you go for prison for? I didn't catch your first live stream, which would have been a year ago.
So I pled to one count of wire fraud for a total amount of $954,000. At this point, anything between anything over $500 and under $1 million, it's this basically almost the same amount of time that you're going to get in that particular scale. And at that point, I was trusting with my attorney. Again, I work for him afterwards. And we've had lots of conversations about this. He said, this is the best plea you're going to get. So I bid off on, even though I did not do that amount of money, I'm still on the hook for it. So that was my sentence.
There you go, Jessica. And on the playlist, if you go to our playlist, there's a Wednesday ladies night playlist, and you'll see Holli's original video on the Wednesday night playlist. If you guys want to go check that out. That was about a year and a half ago now, probably.
Yeah.
Jessica said, whoa, girl, best of luck paying that down.
Yeah, I'm really, and by the way, once you're on supervised release, restitution, unless it's waived in your judgment and commit, it garners interest. So I am at, as of now, I just met with the financial litigation unit in October, and we were able to set again $600 for the remaining, hopefully, portion of my supervised release. But so far I have interest of $8,459. So,
wow.
Yeah, insane. This becomes, like I said, a judgment, and it stays on there, and you're already flagged in the IRS. So if you got any tax refunds coming to you, they're going to take all of it. So you're already flagged. Yeah. The hardest thing I think for everybody to understand is when I met with the flu, they are prosecutors.
Who's the flu again?
Financial litigation unit. They're going to take a look at all your financials. They requested my husband's, and they look at it collectively, because if I were to get a divorce in the state of California, I'm entitled to half of his assets. So that's what they're really looking for. And that's how they also determine on how much you can really pay. Even though they didn't commit a crime, they didn't do anything, they can still look at it. So you need to be aware that that can happen. I was told by both prosecutors, I had two of them, they're from the flu, they're United States attorneys, and they stated that they can go after anything during the time period that you committed that crime. So even if you were divorced afterwards, they can still go back and take a look. How they do it, I don't know, but it is something that they are doing, and they are really collecting. A lot of people said that the financial litigation unit pretty much disappears after you're off a supervised release. And to them, they've fully staffed, and they are going after every little thing that they can. And they're saying that they're actually getting assets. So I was really surprised by that, because a lot of people, I had 50% of women that I've known, 50% continue to pay after supervised release, 50% don't. So it looks like the flu has upped their game and is actually starting to go and looking. So that is something for people that they need to kind of keep in mind. Let me see here. So
if you got questions, feel free, post your questions in the room. Q&A.
Try and work on, if you owe any amount of restitution or fines, you want to try and get that manageable and in your judgment and commit immediately, because that's what a probation officer is going to look at on supervised release. Inside, again, at your facility, you're going to pay through the FRP program, and you're going to pay some form of restitution if you owe it. Starts at $25, and it can go up from there. I ended up having to pay probably close to $125 a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that goes against, no, that doesn't affect your spending, or does it?
It does. Yeah, I couldn't. So your $360 a month that I had, yeah, I was already cut down from that.
Really? So out of the 360 a month, the 125 a month came out of that.
Came out of that.
Wow.
So it is something that you want to pay attention to, and because it's hard living, as you know, inside. And $3,000 a month, whatever, even 20%. I have known females where they only pay $50 a month, $100 a month, but they are constantly being asked to fill, again, the financial forms out. With that, there's limitations on what you can and cannot purchase as well. When you owe large amounts of or any restitution, for example, and they're kind of a no-brainer. You can't have like nanny service, yard service. You can't go to beauty salons. Like I told them, I said, I cut my hair and dye my own hair. And they're serious about that because they're going to go through line item by line item on your monthly bank statement. They're going to go through that.
Well, yeah, Jessica just said this is why people go back to prison.
They do.
What's going on, Mike Winters, Brian Tucker? Thanks for the shout out, guys. Welcome, welcome. Ladies' night with Holli Coulman.
Hi.
Get your questions in. Nanny services and lawn services. That's
lawn
great.
services, nanny service, beauty salon. There are restrictions. You want to save every single grocery receipt. I mean, it's down to, you have to put rent, mortgage, groceries, utilities, electric, heating, oil, gas, water, sewer, telephone, basic cable. You can only have basic cable. You can't put anything down further. Basically anything, if you were going through bankruptcy for your budget, your set one through bankruptcy court, you can't spend over $200 in gas a month. If you are a single person, you can't spend over $225 in groceries a month. So yes, it's very, and they manage that. They take a look at all of this to see what you are and what you're not spending. And everyone thinks that you can just go out and purchase things and you're free in the free world. When you owe restitution like this, no, this is what they look at.
Wow, you're really, really tied down. Kristen Flynn Hawkins, I was released June of 2017. I'm ordered to pay $200 a month for restitution. My PO keeps telling me he's going to do the paperwork to have it reduced, yet he hasn't. Is there anything I can do without his help?
You can approach the financial litigation unit on your own. It's better to have your probation officer work with them. I obviously have all your financials, just like I said, in order. Give them, if you have not already done so, to him. You can hire an attorney to approach the financial litigation unit. Really, the best liaison is the probation officer because, again, they're part of the courts and they kind of circle the wagon around that, and you want that particular support. So unless prodding him along a little bit, that would probably be the best. I'm sorry about that. They just don't move quickly.
So how would somebody go about researching how to get a hold of the FLU, Financial Litigation Unit?
You can call the district court. You can call and find out the financial litigation unit for your district. And you can ask for and say, I want to speak with a U.S. attorney that is part of the FLU.
Can motions be filed to the court to have a judge court order a modification?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can do a modification of restitution. Yes.
Through the court.
Mine took approximately, by the time, because the FLU will bring you in and they will want to talk with you face to face. They're not going to just look at your paperwork. They are going to want to talk with you.
Okay.
And it took at least four to 4.5 months to get this completely amended.
Wow.
One agreement on both sides, prosecution and the FLU, to take it to your judge to be signed. It's more beneficial that way.
So I guess the best advice there is try to do it through your probation officer first, but like in your situation,
they're dragging their feet and you feel that you can handle it. Yes, you can go directly.
Yes, apparently she's been trying to do it through probation, but he hasn't done anything yet. So
yeah.
Kristen, if you need some help with that, according to Holly, motions can be filed.
Yes.
We do have a division of our company that does motions for a lot of our clients. That's pretty well versed in everything to do with the federal system. Reach out to us, and between Holly and our paralegal department, I think the two of them can probably come up with how this motion needs to be structured.
And
My
I've
contact
done a lot of
information.
work on it. I am a paralegal as well. So I worked real close with 2 attorneys on this, so to get it done. A lot of the misconceptions are, again, that you don't have to pay this, that it's only going to, this is a judgment that's going to last 20 years, and they really have been given their marching orders to pursue. So you have to make that decision. Again, there's consequences like we talked about if you choose not to pay after supervised release. So be very careful, because they can, while they cannot put you back in prison or charge you, but they can ask for your financials. If you don't provide them, they can garnish your wages. They can seize assets.
So just like any other judgment, they could come
Yeah,
after
any
you.
other judgment.
And I'll tell you, you just said the word. The one word I've learned from my initial getting in trouble through pretrial, the whole thing, prison, halfway house, supervised release, to where I am right now, is fucking consequences, man. There's so many consequences out there that if you're not paying attention to those consequences, they will bite you in the ass. Absolutely.
I really thought, I was told, hey, don't worry about it. When you get out, they're not going to take that much. They're going to look at what your circumstances are, and that's not what again, it was a consequence. So it was really frightening. It was very scary. And they were in no mood to be empathetic, or I just did not have a very good experience with my probation officer in California. Yeah, she was very punitive. Yeah.
Thank God I didn't have your experience. Jesus
I know.
Christ.
Another question about this
I'd
is
be joining Jessica Kent selling drugs.
yeah, let me tell you. That's why you want all your fines also paid. That's part of restitution as well. Usually per charge, you get $100 per charge. You want to make sure your fines are paid. Also, that's what a counselor is going to take a look at. I mailed my receipt for paying my fines to myself, because their systems don't talk to each other either. So sometimes when people get to their camps and have paid certain portions, counselors can't see that for some reason. Have a receipt, mail the receipt to yourself, have somebody do that so you can provide it. Be smart.
Tier Talk, what is your, do you have work credits in the feds? If you could rephrase that question, I'm not sure I know what you mean. Continue, Holly. Whatever else you feel like is valuable information.
Are worried, can they go after my Social Security? They cannot go after Social Security disability, but they can go after Social Security. So yes, that is one that I've been asked. Yes, they can garnish it. Not disability, not Social Security disability. They can't touch that.
But they can take your Social Security.
Correct.
Okay, wow.
They can take a percentage. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You have a new job and you have 401k, or you have any type of perk, they are going to want to know that. They're going to want every single thing. That's why they're going to ask you to fill out these lovely forms frequently. I have done these. I have now been on supervised release going about 16 months. I have done these probably 9 times. This is the short form. There is also a long form.
Jeez.
Yeah, 9 times.
Tier Talk, I think so. He says, can you earn work credits that go towards your back number? Whatever money, I mean, you can get a job in the federal prison system and make whatever you're going to make, 15 to maybe up to $100 a month if you have like the best of the best. And I assume they would take a portion of that possibly and go towards your restitution.
They can take what you make, yeah, towards it. So yeah. So
if that's the question, if I didn't answer your question, ask again. We'll get it eventually. I'm looking at 22 months. Within the next 4 months, my restitution is over 700,000. I'm assuming they will take my 401k, which is 300,000. Should I try to pay it off before I enter?
I've gotten that too. And the answer is it's up to you. You're still going to have a very high restitution period. I love this because every probation officer I have met with, or they've always made this statement, you have a high restitution. We have an alert about you. And it's just like, geez, I'm not a murderer, it's just like, but you're flagged and they're going to take a look at that. And they'll probably, if your judgment and commit doesn't really say what you're going to be repaying, then yeah, be very careful, because the flu will again take a look at what's still owed and what your ability to earn and what you can pay.
Oh, he's asking, can you earn work credits deduct from the days you need to serve in jail?
No,
Good time. That's it.
that's it.
Good time. And now with the new First Step Act, the bill that was just passed, for every 30 days of successful programming, we don't know what those programs are yet. They got 200 days to roll that out. But once they roll that out, you can earn up to 10 days a month towards pre-release credits. So it's not off your sentence. It's just pre-release you can do in the federal halfway house, home confinement. One more thing, Pierre Campbell, I have it. So Pierre, you just answered the question that Mike asked, the question I was going to ask. So Pierre, you haven't been sentenced yet. You owe restitution. My advice to you, if you can pay it, a combination of paying it before you get sentenced and strong personal narrative, character reference letters, a strong pre-sentence investigation. I can have you talk to a client that thought he was going to prison for 60 months and he went and paid all of his debt, had a really strong personal narrative, character reference, and he ended up getting 5 years probation and 60 days home confinement, no jail time. And he was looking at 60 months. That's what his guideline asked for without a minimum mandatory. So definitely look in the description of this video. My phone number is all over the place. Give me a call because we might be able to help you.
Anything you can show that you are making the effort, that you are trying to rehabilitate, that you are trying to pay your victim. Yes, that is something. But again, it's up to you because you're still going to have a high restitution.
Right. What's one of the biggest things that, what is one of the biggest misconceptions of restitution?
Is that it really doesn't start until you're possibly on supervised release, that you're not going to really pay anything when you go in. And that the biggest misconception that I was told is that, oh, the flu, don't worry about anything. Don't worry about what your judgment commit says, because they're going to take a look at your financials again once you're out. And they still take a look. Probation officers are still going to take a look, and that what was in your judgment commit. That's their marching orders. That's what they're going to take a look at. So you really want to work on that if you have a really bad pre-sentence report and it states, again, like paying $3,000 a month.
Awesome information. Do you guys got any questions for Holly, or would you, keep going, Holly.
Oh,
you
got
got
one thing. A lot of people
more.
ask me, can you declare bankruptcy? And will it go away? No.
Say that one more time.
Can you declare bankruptcy and take this and discharge it? No, you cannot. This is
so it's kind of like federal government student loans.
No,
you can't bankruptcy those either.
Bankruptcy.
Feds want their money, man. You're not getting away from the feds. You can owe it forever. They're going to want it forever. Actually, this is a good question. Are there any programs being offered to the men, vocational, that are not offered to the women? I know it's prison to prison has different programs, but is there anything specifically that the men can do that the women can't, or vice versa?
Vice versa. At Victorville, it's a complex. It was a men's penitentiary and 2 men's medium facilities, but because of their security status, they could not work on the complex. So the women actually worked at Unicor. So it was just strictly women only. So that was one benefit that the women had, and they worked on military vehicles. It was paint and blasting. So, and they made more money, obviously, going through Unicor. So that was something that was not offered to the men.
There you go. That answers that question. I think Holly kind of answered a lot of the questions on restitution, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys will ask the question she already answered, but make sure you post a comment in this video and other videos that you want to hear topics on Holly talking about. Man, you got to let us know so we can give you that content. I want to give a big shout out to some of my favorite people in the room right now. First off, Robert M. He's been a longtime friend of mine, really good friend. It's probably also going to be it's probably, if we need an investor, that's where we go. Robbie's got deep pockets. And Jessica Kent, you guys got to go check out Jessica Kent's YouTube channel. She's an up and coming YouTuber. She spent some nasty time in stateside. We also got Bounce Back with Brian. What's Brian's last name? Bruton. I even remembered your last name. Look at that, Brian Bruton. You guys got to go check out Brian. Me and Brian are going to have a a workout competition. And
Oh.
because he did more time than me, I'm going to have to smoke him. Even though his YouTube channel is smoking my YouTube channel right now, still, nonetheless, we're going to have to get it on here. You know, Tier Talk, I respect your questions. I love you coming on the show. You know, I did see the video you did where you were little, and I didn't get to see the whole thing because the video got pulled down, but it looked like there was some information that you were giving out there on how you didn't like prison channels, or prison channels were giving out too much information. These channels like Bounce Back and Life After Prison Show and 23-in-1 and Jessica, these are people that, look, I didn't do real prison time. In my mind, I did. You know, I was gone. I left my family. I was away from it. But the thing is these guys that have these channels, all of them, Brian, Jessica, Josh over at 23-in-1, what's his name over at After Prison Show, Joe over at After Prison Show. These are all people that made choices to start a YouTube channel, and they very easily, these were people that had some fucked up lives that very easily could have come back to a life of crime, selling drugs, doing whatever it was they were doing, ended up back in prison. And they chose to use the information that they have to reach out. There's a lot of people that are getting help from just seeing people expose themselves, seeing that there is an opportunity through social media. So, you know, I would love to do something with you, but I need to see that, you know, we're on the same page, because it shouldn't be prison guards against inmates. That's in prison. When I'm behind bars, that's what I got to worry about. Out here, we should all be on the same page, trying to lift each other up. So I didn't get to see that video. I missed it. I only got to hear about it, but that's all, man. That's all I got to say about that. I think everybody's got good intentions and we can all make mistakes. You know, but I am going to beat Brian in pull-ups and everything, any other thing he wants to do. He's got better hair than me. I can't fucking work around the hair. Can't work around that. But Holli, you're amazing. I can't thank you enough for coming on here. I'd like to get you and Jessica Kent on the show together. We'll make it a true ladies night, and I will go to the bar. I'm going to take Oliver to the bar. This little fucking chihuahua won't leave me alone. You guys say hi to Oliver. We're about to roll out of here.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting. People helping people, community is method, one day at a time. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Say bye.
Bye.
I always forget how to stop this thing. Here we go. Stop video. I don't know what I'm doing.
I do.
All right. I'm trying to figure out how to stop here. Hold on. Here we go. End meeting. There we go. Figured it out. All right. Bye, guys. Peace.